I remember going to the last above-ground weather, it was the Weatherman or the Weather Underground, the last above-ground convention. And sitting in a room, and the question that was debated, was it or was it not the duty of every good revolutionary to kill all newborn white babies? And at that point, it seemed like a relevant framing of an issue. The logic being, hey, look, through no fault of their own, these white kids are going to grow up to be part of an oppressive racial establishment internationally, and so really, your duty is to kill newborn white babies. And I remember one guy kind of tentatively and apologetically suggesting that seemed like it may be contradictory to the larger humanitarian aims of the movement, and being kind of booed down.
I also think that it might... I think of a lot of things. The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists. We are super versed on sort of ideological theories. And I think that what we really try to do is build a movement that could be utilized by many, many Black folk. Solutions. I was at the art publications table today, and I was speaking to this young person from Arizona who's trying to fight SB 1070. And he grabbed a book and he said, it's like Mao's Red Book. And I was like, man, that's what I was thinking. And it was just really cool to hear him make that connection. I was like, how about you buy like 10 to 15 of these books, and you all have like a youth organizing group where you talk about it and you really try to engage this, and we can just we need to build off of this. And so that leads me to a point that I actually wanted to kind of focus on today, which is I think I have a really important role in speaking to youth. I have, maybe it's because I came in the movement at 17 and a half, so I have like just a knack for knowing how to organize young people into this organization and kind of teach them this politic, and then hear them now organize other people.
White people are racist. So I put this up because I really want any white person in the room to know up front that this is what we're dealing with, that it's not going to be this coddling of white tears and what that looks like. We're not going to discuss, oh, maybe some of us have worked it out. No, you're always going to be racist, actually. So even when you're on your path to trying to figure out how to be a better human being, because I believe that white people are born into not being human, like that actually, instead of people of color and Black folks being dehumanized, that actually everyone is dehumanized off rip within white supremacy, that y'all are born into a life to not be human, and that's what y'all are taught to do, to be demons. So in this particular way, white people are all racist.
In my opinion, we don't need white people leading the Democratic Party right now. The Democratic Party is diverse, and it should be reflected as so in our leadership.
This teacher had his class line up and participate in a privilege walk. He asked them a series of questions about their privilege status and has them step forward or back depending on the answer.
Step backwards. If you or your family ever inherited money or property, take a step forward.
Of course.
Money or property, take a step forward. If you come from a supportive family environment, take a step forward. If you were ever uncomfortable about a joke or statement you overheard related to your race, ethnicity, gender, appearance, or sexual orientation, but felt unsafe to confront the situation, take a step backwards. If you were ever uncomfortable about a joke.
But now, right now, it is critical to also identify the dangers of framing white people as safe, as innocent, as harmless. It is critical to identify the interdependence of dangerous Blackness and safe whiteness.
America has a problem, and its name is whiteness. So, white people, how does it feel to be a problem?
What are some racial differences that you've noticed around you? Who would like to share?
People are different, so they get treated based on how they look, and who decided that is the dominant culture.
What is the dominant culture? What does the dominant culture do?
They make people believe certain stereotypes about a certain group of people. not just blacks, but also browns or indigenous, anybody whose skin color is darker.
Dominant culture is for powerful people with power, and white people make other people think that black people are bad. So that's why black people don't have power.
If a white person kills a black person, they call it self-defense. But if a black person kills a white person, it says murder.
Okay, so here is kind of like if you were interested in thinking about like what topics can I talk about in kindergarten, you can start here. So with identity, we talk about identity in itself. We talk about what's radical self-love, self-esteem, do a lot of affirmations, and then growth mindset work for the identity domain. The respect domain, we talk about respect for others, the differences of others, empathy, compassion, and also one big one, responsibility. Responsibility will lead you to justice. So in the justice domain, talk about fairness, what is fair, what isn't fair. Injustices, privilege, prejudice, racism, sexism, and the other isms. Action. What is an ally? How to be an ally? What is a co-conspirator? Being a bystander versus being an upstander. So this is getting them to understand that they can make a change. They can be the change.
To do this, you have to use this racialism, use this racial divide as a tool to paint all white people as inherently racist. Do you believe that? Do you believe all white people are inherently racist?
So I don't know if you're backing me into a corner with that question, but yes, I do. I do believe that all white people are at some level, at the unconscious level, connected to racism. It's unavoidable. I think all men are sexist at some level. I think that that is absolutely the case. There are no good apples out there. White people make my blood boil. When you say there are no good apples out there, what kind of claim are you making?
I'm talking about people have this idea that racism is something that if you're consciously racist or if you're a Klan member, and I'm sort of making the claim that racism is something that is unconscious and it is actually in everyone, and everyone uses these words systemic. They're like, you know, I know that racism is systemic, and yet individually when you call them out, they'll be like, well, it's not me, you can't say that. And so there's a disconnect between use of the word systemic and saying that racism is everywhere, but the moment you point it out individually, there's sort of people disown their own violence and racism.
Would it be fair to say, based on your expertise, that white people are psychopathic?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think that there's many lies that, and didn't get to that part because what I delivered was only part of a first series of talks. But the level of lying that white people do that has started since colonialism, we're just used to it. Such as every time that you steal a country, you loot, you say you've discovered something. I mean, this level of lie is actually part of history. We don't say that we killed all these people, we got rid of all the Native Americans. We say we discovered America. You don't talk about the level of death. You don't talk about the level of what actually occurred. You wipe the slate clean, you sanitize the violence, and you actually got lost along the way. You're trying to go to India, and then you say you discovered something. And this level of discovery is everywhere. You've discovered vegetarianism. You know, you've discovered yoga. You've discovered everything is a discovery, and it's all actually stolen.